Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 288. Best Jobs for Introverts. Mark Twain once said, "Find a job you enjoy doing and you'll never have to work a day in your life." I, for one, am a big fan of that as a concept. However, I'm also a realist, and whilst it's a lovely idea and one that I still advocate for, in today's world it can feel more like an out-of-date fairy tale than a roadmap. So, with today's challenging job market, with so much uncertainty and complexity, how do we get to that position? Good question. So let's wrestle with that right now, shall we? I'm not a career counsellor, but after decades as a coach, facilitator, trainer and coaching supervisor, I've seen the inside of enough careers and corporates to spot patterns. And in this episode, I'm going to share what truly matters. And as I'm a generous sharer, I suggest you pin back your lug'oles and listen in for a while. Now, what has prompted me to talk about this now, you may ask? Well, I know a few people who are looking for or are in the process of a career change, and the inevitable question is, what should I really be looking for? If we follow Mark Twain's quote to the letter, the inference is, you might have to try loads of jobs before you find the one you love, unless you're spectacularly lucky first time around. I work with quite a few professional services clients, and when working with new entrants in their first few years, I often ask why they chose the profession. And you know what? Only a handful actually made a conscious choice. That both shocks me and at the same time doesn't surprise me. Talk about duality. The vast majority of the new entrants saw an advert and thought, I'll give that a go. When we remember that the brain isn't really fully formed until we're about 26 years old, making choices at 13 for the subjects that we're going to take maybe up to degree level and beyond is complete nonsense. But here's the thing I find quite sad. Changing your career, pivoting as we often refer to it these days, is largely frowned upon unless you're an entrepreneur. Recruiters and employers draw suspicious conclusions over a CV that shows gaps or lots of change. Family members think of us as flighty, immature or lacking commitment. Society labels us losers or failures. And I kid you not, even my husband, right up until the day he retired, used to say, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And he meant it. He still does, actually. Not that it matters anymore because the golf club has his heart these days. But it did get me wondering, why are we so judgmental of people who want to try a lot of things in order to experience life to the max? Sometime during the mid-1980s, when I was working at BT, I had to attend a Job for Life seminar where we were encouraged to recommend our friends and family members to apply for jobs. In fact, when I was new to the job market, a job for life was the aspiration. But just like supermarket bags for life, they don't last forever, or they're no longer fit for purpose, or we forget to take them with us. The latest stats show that here in the UK, a little over 25% of employees change jobs annually, and nearly 50% plan to leave their employer in 2025. Globally, research shows that people go through between 3 and 7 different careers in their life, with younger generations switching up much more often. Job hugging is definitely more common in times of economic uncertainty, but your working life is long and getting longer by all accounts. So don't do something you hate just because it's the safe option. If you're staying in a job that leaves you unfulfilled just to please somebody else, please reconsider. You don't need to be reckless, but don't hide behind safety as an excuse to stay stuck either. Time to get braver, and to hell with what Mr., Mrs. or other pronoun judgy McJudgeface think. As I said in episode 285, it's your life and you're the only one who gets to live it. Now, back to the title of this episode. One of the questions I see cropping up a lot in the introvert forums is, what's the best job for an introvert? Now, I'm not going to pull my punches here because the simple answer is anything that lights you up, has you feel motivated and leaves you feeling fulfilled rather than feeling like you're wasting your life. And no, that doesn't mean hiding in a corner with a spreadsheet because someone else told you introverts don't do people. Absolute nonsense. In fact, it's utter tosh. And thinking back to Mark Twain's wisdom, just like frogs where you might have to kiss a few before you find your prince, I think it's fair to expect that you might have to try a few jobs, not just think about them, before you find the one that really lights you up. And spoiler alert, from someone who knows, that's likely to change with the seasons of your life. My needs and desires were very different in my younger years, as was what I was prepared to compromise, sacrifice, or tolerate. But my light you up answer is rarely the one that the people asking the questions are looking for. How do I know? Because when I give that answer, it gets no reaction from them or anyone else on the platform. The responses that do get reactions are things like anything where you don't have to interact with people, a data entry clerk, anything you can do without leaving the house, a night watchman, security guard, or an overnight shelf filler. Come on, people. Since when did being an introvert mean we're incapable of being an integral team member or even the leader of the team? Given the collective consciousness that we now know is a reality, and the fact that thoughts not only become things but are contagious, can you see how that kind of advice limits people's aspirations and keeps them playing small? Well, I'm not okay with that. It's like condemning someone to a small and miserable life because that's what we think introverts ought to do. Let me remind you again just how many captains of industry, world leaders, managers in organisations, entrepreneurs and creatives are introverts. We are not limited by our personality type. We are limited by our beliefs, by our imagination, and by other people's expectations of us. And when we are limited in this way, our communication skills begin to degrade. We hide under our very own invisibility cloak, and our confidence diminishes to the size of a pinhead. And that's when we're well and truly caught in our very own self-fulfilling prophecy. It goes something like this. I'm an introvert, so I can't do that, and here's my portfolio of evidence that explains why. Well, you know what I'm going to say to that, right? Poppycock. Stop using introversion as a permission slip to play small. Life is a series of large and small experiments with no guaranteed outcomes. So get the lab coat and safety goggles on and start experimenting. Take some time to find out what you love and what lights you up. And this, of course, can start with desk research. I'm a big fan of the westernised Ikigai process, and some of you will have heard me talk about this before. And guess what? I make no apology for that. Spend some time sifting through what you love doing, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Unless, of course, you're independently wealthy, in which case you can probably ditch that last one. Capture all of that in a 4 or 3 circle Venn diagram, and the overlap or intersect is a great place to start your experimenting. And that's when the other layers come into play. Like, what difference do you want to make in the world? And what type of life do you want to live? And where do you want to be in the world? And of course, there are other things that are important to you. This is how you get intentional about finding the best job for you. Not for all introverts, for you. I encourage people to undertake this type of exercise periodically throughout their life because we do change. We evolve. We're designed that way, so our answers will change too, or at least they should. Whether you have another 10, 20, 30 or even 40 years of working life ahead of you, ensuring that they're fulfilling is the best gift you can give yourself. And if you'd like some help on the first step, why not book a clarity call with me? It's a no obligation way to get yourself familiarised with your own lab coat and safety goggles. In that way, you can start experimenting and kissing a few frogs in order to find what lights you up, because the world needs you illuminated from within, not hidden. Let's go! If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.